Welcome back to the Beyond the Arc podcast. I'm Dallas, joined by Levi. And later on, we'll be joined by Zach Carey, beat writer covering Virginia basketball. Levi, how's it going? And what's your takeaway from this week in Tennessee basketball?
I'm doing well, man. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, man. Pretty good week. We're shooting the cover off the ball right now, so I'm not mad about that whatsoever.
Absolutely. I don't know if you saw, but Tennessee currently has the number one field goal percentage in the country as of last night. That could have changed overnight. I don't know if you saw that or not, but that's a pretty big deal.
For as much as the offense was fun to watch last year with Dalton, we had many shooting nights in the past 3 to 4 years where it's just been frustrating. So it's nice to see this team really, take over the field goal percentage. They're shooting rim shots, man. I mean, we're shooting. I mean, just an incredible percentage, just straight at the rim, which our teams have struggled with last year. We shot just barely above 50 something percent at the rim so far this year. I mean, just including the game the other night against Austin Peay, we shot 86 or 83%. I'm sorry, right at the rim. And I mean, if you're converting your rim shots like that, you're doing pretty daggone good.
Absolutely. I got a few stats for you here from Will Warren, Stats by Will. Follow him on Twitter if you haven't already. But Tennessee has now shot 63%, 59%, 73%, and 72% from the field in their first four games. That is the first four games stretch at 59% or better since Levi. Would you like to guess the year?
Shoot, man, 2017, 2018.
2018 to 2019, which I believe would be the senior Grant and Admiral year of their last year.
Yes, sir.
Also, shot selection has been key, as you mentioned. Tennessee is currently getting 84% of all their shots at the rim or from three, which, as we all know, in today's basketball, getting shots at the rim and from three is absolutely key. And to add on to that, the other night against Austin Peay, Tennessee shot 58 shots, I believe, and 57 of those came from three or the rim. And like I said, as you know, threes and layups, that's the name of the game offensively. And Tennessee seems to be clicking on all cylinders as far as that. Do you have anything, Levi, you want to say about the Montana game? I know it's been a while since the Montana game, so if you don't, that's fine.
I mean, no, man, we played good against Montana. In the second half, especially, our offense really picked up. Defense started to lock in a little bit. Against Austin Peay, that's a pretty good Austin Peay team, man. Right now on Bartovic, I don't know if anybody uses Bartovic. I use Ken Palm and Bart, but on Bart right now, we're sitting with the 22nd best offensive efficiency adjusted, which would be the second highest under Barnes, other than the 2018-2019 team. And we're sitting with the fourth best adjusted defensive efficiency. So, and we also have the 12th best wins above the bubble, which is a new thing that they're coming out with this year with seeding and selection like that with the committee. I don't know if you've really read into much of that or not, Dallas, but we're uh, we're trending pretty well in the one of the new metrics they're using. So
Absolutely. I just want to run down the box score a little bit and give some shout outs to people that need them from the Montana game. You had Igor Milicic with 18 points and 10 rebounds with five assists, his first double double as a volunteer. You had Chaz Lanier, 13 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 3 of 5 from three. And Cameron Carr, 13 points on 3 of 4 from the field and 1 for 2 from three. It was nice to see Cameron Carr finally get some much needed momentum in that game. And then switching gears to Austin Peay, Levi, what do you got to say about Austin Peay just right now?
I mean, I mean, man, you highlighted it right there, kind of with the Igor Milicic, man. I mean, he's he's playing some really good ball. You can tell that he's starting to really get there with the comfort of the Rick Barnes system. But I've said for a while, man. I mean, a really nice trail four in Rick Barnes' offense can really set the offense on fire. It helped a lot in 18-19. Josiah Jordan James was a great trail forward, just not as much of a threat, in my opinion, to shoot the three that Igor is. So I'm thinking Igor Milicic might be. I mean, obviously he's no Dalton Connect, but he can absolutely be a guy that everybody's going to look back on and say, "Wow, how the heck does Rick Barnes and company keep finding these guys that can just come in, play for a year, and be just you know efficient and score the ball at will?" I've uh, I've been quite impressed with Felix Okpara's defense as well. His defense in the Austin Peay game was probably as good as I've seen since maybe Kyle Alexander. So that was nice to see. And then obviously you have Zakai Ziegler reaching his 500th assist, which is, you know, Zakai Ziegler's basically family to all of us Tennessee fans. So you can't ever go wrong with highlighting Zakai Ziegler a little bit there.
Absolutely. I mentioned a few episodes ago, it might have just been an episode ago, that time it's kind of just running together on me. We mentioned about Zakai and worrying about his 3-point shot. And since then, he has went 3 of 4 against Montana and 3 of 4 against Austin Peay, and he's shooting 47% from three. So I think it's safe to say those concerns have been answered. And looking at the box score here, we got Milicic against Austin Peay, 23 points, 9 rebounds. We have Okpara, 12 points, 7 rebounds. Zakai Ziegler, 19 points and 8 assists. Cade Phillips, 13 points and 9 rebounds. Cade got a lot of playing time due to the absence of JP Estrella. We would touch on some more injury issues as we go on here on the podcast. And we had Jordan Gainey going with 15 points and 4-7 from the field. All right, switching gears to Virginia basketball, I want to welcome on Zach Carey, the UVA beat writer. Zach, how's it going?
Going well. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. So, Zach, just kind of give us your initial thoughts on the game.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Virginia is a program that's obviously gone through a lot of uncertainty in the last month or so following Tony Bennett's retirement. They're 3-0 right now. Won two bye games against Campbell and Coppin State, and then beat a flagging Villanova team in Baltimore. So feeling relatively encouraged about this team right now. Granted, I think everyone's aware that Tennessee is on paper the better team in this game, and this is going to be absolutely the stiffest test that the Hoos have faced so far this season. So I think a success for the Hoos in this game would just be keeping things interesting for 40 minutes, staying within 10 points, not letting things get away from them. There's been some instances for Virginia over the last couple of years where they get out to an early deficit, 10 to 15 points. And then, everyone always talks about how an 8-point lead is like 15 points against Virginia. Well, an 8-point deficit for the Hoos is often like a 15-point deficit. So they've had some tough games against top tier competition like Tennessee over the last couple seasons. So if they can keep things tight and maybe give the Vols a little bit of run for their money, I think that'd be a success for Ron Sanchez and his team.
Levi, you got any initial thoughts?
I just got a couple questions here for Zach. My main question, man, is like, where do you see Virginia in the ACC this year? Like, how do you see that playing out?
It's pretty tough to say. I mean, I think that Duke is rightfully considered a front runner right alongside North Carolina. I think there's a gap after those two teams to sort of a group of teams that are hoping to get into that top four, with the get the double bye in the ACC tournament. I think Virginia is one of those teams. I think, frankly, 3 weeks ago, I had no real concept of how well this team would have responded to Tony Bennett's retirement. I mean, just losing your coach 19 days before the season starts, not just your coach, but a national championship winning coach at that. Um, the floor seemed low. And I think that they've set that sort of base floor so far to the point where, this team has not, this program has not finished outside the top six in the ACC, I think, in over a decade. So while it's not Tony Bennett, I still think that they'll be up there, around sort of competing for one of those top four spots. If things go right, they could give Duke or North Carolina or Clemson's, so some of those other teams near the top of the ACC a run for their money, but I'm going to have to see more sort of than we've seen so far to really know for sure there.
Yeah, Tony Bennett's retirement it absolutely hit everyone that was outside of Virginia as a surprise. Was there any insight as to did people around Virginia kind of see it coming, or was it just a blindside as to Virginia people as much as it was just the national?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was a blind side in the sense that it happened 3 weeks before the season. No one saw that part of it coming. It wasn't necessarily a surprise that Bennett retired. I think if you told me after, that Colorado State loss in the first four last year that Tony Bennett would retire before the season started, I would have been a little bit surprised because I thought maybe he had 2 more years in him. His contract went through the 2026 season, and he promised Virginia's best player, Isaac McNeely, when he was recruiting him, that he would be there for the entirety of his career at Virginia. So everyone sort of looked at like that 2026 year, which is also when his contract or contract as of May and June ended. So it was definitely sort of people knew that it could be coming in the next couple of years. But the fact that it happened in mid to late October, that was absolutely a pretty significant surprise.
Yeah, I think everyone was just completely like, wow, it was pretty big. So, Zach, are there any matchups you're looking at this game that you think Virginia could take advantage of, or are there any matchups you think Tennessee could take advantage of from your standpoint?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Isaac McNeely, who I just mentioned, he's kind of the straw that stirs Virginia's drink, really frankly, on either side of the floor, but especially offensively. He's taken on a bigger role so far this season. So if Virginia's going to score the ball against Tennessee and their vaunted defense, which I'm sure you guys are aware of, they're going to need McNeely to either continue to stay hot from three. I think he's like fourth in the country in three-point shooting percentage above a certain volume and first in the ACC right now. He just put up 23 against Villanova on perfect 6 for 6 shooting from three. But either he's going to need to get going from deep or he's going to have to pose enough of a threat that Tennessee has to help significantly to him. He's using ball screens a lot more this season than he has in the past. Now as a junior, he's coming off ball screens rather than just sort of being an off ball stretch shooter, and he's also making plays when teams help to him. His assist rate is up to 16% from 11% as a sophomore and 6% or 5% as a freshman. So McNeely's the guy that if Tennessee wants to identify a matchup to hone in on and want to try to limit, that's him. And then sort of the question for Virginia would be if Tennessee does get the ball out of his hands, does hard hedge or blitz ball screens, how can the Who sort of make plays around him? And do they have enough shooting and playmaking? Defensively, I mean, Virginia has had sort of lockdown defenders on the perimeter for a while now. I mean, the sort of the national names that maybe Tennessee fans would be aware of are Reese Beekman and Ryan Dunn. Ryan Dunn, a first round pick to the Phoenix Suns, who's now lighting it up for them. Beekman sort of owned guard matchups for his 4 years at Virginia, but now they don't necessarily have that surefire backcourt stopper, or at least at the point guard position. So I think Ziegler is obviously sort of the name to watch there. And then McNeely is also a good defender in his own right, who could take a secondary guard matchup there.
Sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to the game. Levi, you got anything you want to add?
I just have one more quick question for Zach here. I see that the freshman, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Kofi.
Kofi, yeah.
Jacob Kofi. He's having a pretty solid impact on your team. Can you just expand on him? I mean,
Yeah.
a 6'10" freshman. Is he a stretch guy? Is he
Yeah.
is he a screen guy? He's
So
having a
yeah,
good year.
he's definitely a stretch guy, but I think what excites UVA fans so much about him is just that he really has a lot of the tools that you would want. I mean, he has 4-5 versatility. Defensively, he slides really well. He can hard hedge like how the pack line defense wants him to. He's still sort of getting used to the rotations of college basketball defense, but he's got the length. He's a strong guy. I mean, he's a freshman, so he hasn't totally filled out yet, but he's got a strong base, strong core. And then offensively, I mean, he's shooting, I can pull up the numbers real quick. He's shooting 45% from three. That's 5 for 11, and that's after going 2 for 7 against Villanova. So yeah, he's been lighting it up from three, and then also making plays sort of within the flow of Virginia's offense as a finisher. He has a little bit of a low post game. We haven't seen much of that necessarily yet, but yeah, no, he's been a really impressive piece for the Who's been good on the offensive boards, and also just allows them to play with a lot of lineup versatility because he can play the 4 or the 5, and sort of they have in Blake Buchanan, who's their starting center, and Elijah Saunders, who's their starting 4. They can sort of mix and match those 3 guys however they want, and if you play Kofi for Buchanan, Saunders, because he's a little bit stronger, can guard 5s, and they can play with 5 shooters on the floor because of Kofi. So yeah, he's unlocked a lot for this team and allowed them to play more open and threaten teams in ways that they couldn't last year when the offense was not very good. And so yeah, no, he's been a really welcome surprise for Virginia so far this season.
Zach, I alluded to this earlier when when me and Levi was talking about the Austin Peay Tennessee game. I mentioned that Tennessee's JP Estrella had been dealing with an injury of some sorts. It seems to be a foot. But today, Tennessee got word that sophomore wing Cameron Carr had to miss practice due to some sort of undisclosed injury. And then you have, as I mentioned, Estrella, and Tennessee seems to be, I don't want to say wounded at the moment, but
Mhm.
they only had 8 scholarship players today at practice.
Gotcha.
How is Virginia looking as far as health wise? Are there any guys they should be looking to come back, or are there any guys they may be worried about missing the game at the moment?
No one who has played so far this season. They have a redshirt freshman point guard, Christian Bliss, who's dealing with a foot injury. But I wouldn't expect him to play in this game, and frankly, he probably doesn't have too much of a rotational role. So yeah, other than him, this team is just about fully healthy. Elijah Saunders, the starting power forward, has been dealing with some leg cramps in the last 2 games, so that's maybe one thing to keep an eye on. He brings a lot to the floor, both defensively and also being able to sort of their lone post option, despite being 6'8". So he's maybe the one to watch there. But no, otherwise, as far as my knowledge goes, Virginia is fully healthy this season or right now.
Okay. Okay, that was
Hey,
something I was.
Dallas,
Yes.
I can tell you that Cam Carr's injury is a hand injury. Uh, Seems like some type of maybe a broken bone in the left hand.
Oh
So
gosh.
Okay,
that's what the word is so far, is that he's got some type of some broken, maybe a possible broken left hand. So
that could lead to the way of Darlin Stone DeBar getting some minutes. It's kind of looked like after he took a personal leave that he may have been kind of stretched thin for minutes, but with Cam Carr going down and possibly JP Estrella being limited, we could see Darlin Stone DeBar. Zach, I just want to touch on something real quick. Coach Sanchez seems to be doing a pretty decent job offensively so far. Is there anything that you think he brings different than Tony Bennett did?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, on the one hand, as you mentioned, Virginia is running a different or revamped version of their offense this season. That was by design from Bennett throughout the offseason. It's something he was involved in sort of orchestrating. And so, I mean, they're running a lot more dribble handoffs, zoom actions. They're incorporating the 5s in making plays, more ball screens, sort of less of that sides or mover blocker offense or set that I know Tennessee runs at times. And so they're spreading the floor a lot more, and they went and got players who can do that. With Sanchez, he's a little bit more liberal with playing young guys and a guy like Jacob Kofi. He's gotten significant minutes this season, which has been very beneficial for Virginia, but at the same time, he's made some mistakes here and there that Bennett might have been more, maybe been quicker to pull him for. And then also Sanchez plays guys with 2 fouls a lot more than Bennett did. I think they were right around last in 2 foul participation per KenPom last season, and right now they are 117th. So it's a much higher rate. Yeah, they were 337th last year, and that's been the trend throughout the Bennett era. So they're sort of Sanchez is less he's less quick to pull guys when mistakes happen, and wants players to play through him a little bit more than Bennett did, which was a point of criticism for him. Maybe that would have been the case if Bennett was also the coach here, but those have been the significant changes under Sanchez so far.
Interesting. So just looking at Haslam which happens to be one of my favorite analytics sites, it currently has Tennessee projected for a 73.3 to 61.2 victory. Zach, do you want to give a prediction?
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, I'm happy to. I think I think that Virginia will keep things relatively close throughout the first half. I think Tennessee will end up winning. What did Haslametrics have them at? It was 11 or 12 points.
Yeah, it's 12, 73, 61.
I'd probably go a little higher than that. I'd probably say closer to maybe something like 75, 60, 58, something along those lines. This Virginia team can shoot it, but there's still question marks of how well they can touch the paint. And I think that Tennessee has some experience on them and is strong, maybe where Virginia is a little bit weak. So, yeah, I think Tennessee will win this game comfortably. Maybe Virginia keeps it within, 5 to 8 points in the first half, and it's about the same result in the second, and just leads to Tennessee pulling away.
Interesting. Levi, you got a prediction or any last words you want like to say or questions?
I honestly think Virginia will keep it closer than many think. I don't know, man. When you travel to these weird tournaments, it's like last year in the Maui Invitational. I mean, we played Syracuse, who was not a very good basketball team, and they came out and kind of punched us in the mouth. So I'll go Tennessee 70, Virginia 62, something like that. Maybe we pull away late with a couple nice buckets. But I do have one more question for Zach. Can you say Vols again?
Oh gosh, Vols. Sorry about
we'll have
that.
to
Vols.
we'll have to work
Vol-
on that, man.
No, see, that makes sense. Right when you said it, I was like, oh, it's volunteers, not volunteers.
No, it's just
Must be.
it's kind of an inside joke with our fan base. We had a coach for a year that called us the Vols the entire year. So
Yeah,
what was his name again,
yeah.
Dallas? You remember he guy from Southern Miss that
Donnie
he
Tyndall.
coached? Donnie Tyndall, yeah. So Donnie Tyndall called us the Vols quite often. So
Now,
I just had to poke at you, man.
no, you're very very justified in doing so. If I can excuse I might be a Seminoles, a Florida State Knowles. That might be where I pull that pronunciation from. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to ask a question. Igor Milicic, originally committed and played for Virginia as a freshman before going to Charlotte, and obviously now Tennessee. What have you guys thought of him so far?
I'll let Levi take the floor there, and I'll give in any input I have after.
So I mean, so far he's been about as good as we thought he would be. Everybody kind of knew what kind of player we were getting, but he fits perfectly into the Rick Barnes system. Rick Barnes likes to run the ball a little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
we don't go crazy tempo, but we push the ball well, and we get a lot of really nice looks for our four guy because we run a trail four type system. Our four is typically always behind the play.
right.
So he's been a very efficient scorer in the fact that he's behind the play. He gets a lot of really, really good looks off of penetration, and then he gets to step into a nice, top of the key three. Defensively, you can see why Virginia recruited him. He communicates extremely well. He actually moves his feet very well
Yeah,
for a guy his size, and you can tell that his father is a very prominent coach overseas because he takes the Rick Barnes coaching style uh, with a grain of salt and just says yes sir and moves on. Doesn't really have much to say back. So he's been a lot better than I expected personally. But a lot of people in our fan base and program were really high on him coming in. So yeah, he looks really good. Do you know why? I'm sorry, I'm going to hit a counter question here. Do you know why he
yeah.
transferred from Virginia? Was there
Uh,
something there? Or
I mean, no, I don't have in-depth knowledge. I think that the gist of it was playing opportunity. I mean, he only played. I have his Ken Palm page up. He only played 7% of the minutes available as a freshman, and frankly, Virginia did not have a very good team when he was a freshman, and a lot of people thought that he probably should have been playing more. I think that he saw Charlotte, who at the time was coached by Ron Sanchez, funnily enough, as an
That's hilarious.
opportunity to stay in a similar system and play for a coach that, he didn't know personally necessarily because Sanchez was there for 5 years, but saw an opportunity to play in a similar system at maybe a lower level and get more immediate playing time than at Virginia. Tony Bennett, as I mentioned earlier, like he was not quick to play freshman. He deferred to experience a lot, for better or for worse. It got him a national championship. It also maybe meant that a couple guys like Igor Milicic left the program over the years. But I don't think there was anything, beyond that, anything that significant. And Virginia fans are happy to see him succeeding.
Yeah, from my standpoint, in the offseason, there's a lot of reports coming out that he was possibly Tennessee's best offensive player. And
Mm.
some of the reports were kind of pushing and insinuating that he could be Dalton Connect esque, and I was kind of like, okay, let's slow our roll a little bit here. But he seems to be as Levi mentioned, the perfect Rick Barnes player at the four. He's
Yeah.
became a lot more perimeter oriented in the last two games. 2 of 6 from three against Montana, but he only shot one against Austin Peay. He's had 23 points, and against Austin Peay, he had 23. Against Montana, he had 18. He's been very efficient offensively, and as Levi mentioned as well, pretty much a solid defender that you're not going to have to worry about him getting beat pretty often. But
Yeah.
anyway, Zach, before we get out of here, do you want to tell people where they can find your stuff if they're interested, or you want to plug your social medias or anything?
Yeah, I'd love to. You can read all my stuff at it's streakinglawn.com. That's the website I manage, and that's where I'm a beat writer. Zach Carey on Twitter, and then I've been doing these YouTube breakdowns. Actually, I sort of refurbished and revamped my YouTube channel this year. So it's sort of doing game analysis, focusing on key storylines. So I'll have one up about Virginia, Tennessee, no matter which way it goes. So if Tennessee fans are at all interested in a Virginia sort of perspective on that game after the fact, that's Zach Carey clips on YouTube. But thank you guys so much for having me on. A lot of fun.
Thanks for coming on, Zach. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll be cheering for Virginia as long as they're not playing against Tennessee, or at least from my standpoint. Levi, you got anything you want to add before we get out here?
I appreciate you, Zach. Great insight, brother. A lot of fun, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you all.
All right, see you, man. Take care.
See ya.
Hold on one second before you're gone. I got one thing to say that you're gonna want to put on this podcast.
Go for it.
I gotta throw a major shout out to a dude that plays for Bowling Green, Marcus Johnson. If you watch college basketball, turn on Bowling Green. This guy is incredible.
I've seen the
He,
footage myself. He's incredible.
he is more fun than dude, dang it, dude that played for us at one point, but and
DJ
then
Burns.
big old DJ Burns. Yeah, he's DJ Burns, but he's got a little guard game too. Reminds me a little bit of Kenneth Lofton. So if you're a college basketball fan and you check this podcast out, go watch Marcus Johnson.
Oh, we gotta shout out the Lady Vols program. I'd
Oh,
be
absolutely.
I'd be remiss if I didn't add that in. Got a commitment yesterday from 5-star, according to the 24/7 composite, Lauren Hurst. Just an absolute monstrous recruiting momentum right now on the trail for Kim Caldwell. You got anything you want to add?
I mean, dude, she's killing it. She's unlocked the NIL again. She's recruiting the young people again. I can't remember. Kelly was very much a portal recruiter. For some reason, she did not like to recruit the high school rank too much. Jackson and those types of
Yeah.
players. But the system that Kim is running is very similar to the system that Nate Oates runs, which is very much a Danny White style hire, which gives me a lot of hope for when Rick retires that we're going to go find somebody that runs fast paced, upbeat, let's score as many points as we can type offense. the Lady Vols, they're going to have a few games where you'll turn it on and it'll be 2 minutes left in the third quarter and they'll have 42 points and you'll be like, what the heck happened tonight? They shot 3 for 37 from three. But there's going to be a lot of nights where you'll turn the TV on and they're playing a team that they absolutely probably shouldn't beat. And they'll have, 97 points and they'll be up 19 points. So I'm really happy with the Kim hire and congrats to the Lady Vols and all their fans. I'm a huge Lady Ball fan. My dad used to always say in Tennessee, men are men and women are champions. So it's nice to see the Lady Ball program getting the recognition and all of that they truly are. I mean, they are, they're a blue blood when it comes to women's basketball, and they should always be a blue blood.
Absolutely. We're going to have Ryan Sylvia on the podcast pretty soon to talk some Lady Vols basketball and just probably a Lady Vols exclusive podcast, just talking just Lady Vols and everything. And I look forward to that discussion. But anyway, Levi, it's been a great show today, and we'll see you next time on the Beyond the Arc podcast.